10th episode, Glyn.
10th.
Actually, 10 now. It's like, do you remember the Beautiful South song, Perfect 10?
Yeah.
It's like that. But
I was going to try and sing it then, but I won't.
And also then we'd have to sort of pay PRS for singing the song. We just don't have the money for that. It's a free podcast, so we can't do that. This is episode 10 of the More Than Mostly Comedy podcast. Thank you for listening to us.
Yes.
Goodbye. That's the end.
Yeah, that's it.
Very short ones.
Yeah, it's a good episode. I enjoyed that.
I thought so. The interviews are fantastic.
Yeah.
In today's podcast, we have interviews with Richard Herring and Matt Green, both of whom appeared at tonight's Mostly Comedy, which is, March?
We're the 20th of March 2014 is what we're on at this very second.
This second, as you hear it. Although actually, technically, it's the 21st because it's 2:20 in the morning. So.
Oh, God.
That's when we do these things. First up, we have our interview with Richard Herring. Before we start, I was just going to mention, I don't know if you noticed the fact, I'm sat on the chair now that Richard Herring was sat on when we were interviewing him.
Are you a bit starstruck by that?
I'm taking his own heat. I'm basically, my arse has been in the same place as Richard Herring, and I'm proud of that.
I'm very jealous.
You can sit here as well in a bit if you want.
I'll come and do that.
But what I quite like about the fact, we were sat on two stools, and Richard Herring was sat on what basically looks like a throne.
It does.
And we never acknowledged the fact that he sat on this big sort of plush red seat. And
we know our place, don't we?
We do, yeah.
We put ourselves on kind of tiny stools, quite low down, and then put him on a big throne.
It's like a status game that we're playing. Tonight, he was previewing some stuff, well, actually mostly stuff from his new Edinburgh Fringe show, isn't it? Which he's doing, obviously, this August. And we might as well listen to him talking now rather than explaining it. So here we have Richard Herring. We're sat here with Richard Herring.
Hello.
Hello there. First thing I wanted to ask you really is, I understand you recently filmed Pointless.
Yeah, I can't talk about it.
Oh, really? Okay. I did wonder whether you couldn't.
Yeah. It was...
Can you talk about having recently filmed it? Or?
Oh, yes, I've recently filmed Pointless. I think it'll be on quite soon.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it for everyone.
No, that's fair.
I managed to do that myself. I was a massive fan of it.
Yeah,
so it was, and everyone else... it was like Pointless celebrities.
Right.
And in the very loosest terms, everyone else on it had never even seen the programme.
Really?
So I was telling them the rules, and they're going, "Oh, someone's a bit of a swat." And they're going, "Well, that doesn't mean anything because the wrong thing comes up or whatever." It's a very clever game, and I was very, very nervous, and I don't really get nervous about anything.
Yeah.
And I was put in a quite difficult position in the first round where I had to make a. Well, it's very clever. Because you've got to, it's not just about. I mean, I'm very good at general knowledge, but that doesn't really help you. Because being good at general knowledge is about knowing the most popular things. Yeah. So you can always go, that might be Van Gogh, or that could be Picasso. It's a question about painters. But when you have to go, what are the obscure painters, or whatever it is? But it's actually, it's very typical of me. But it was, it was such a open goal the first round.
Right.
But, it's wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Do you know when it's going to be on?
I don't know. So they just said sometime in the spring.
Oh,
but
cool.
it's gonna. Yeah, I'm just so I'm cross about it. So that's
okay.
I take these things. I really thought I wouldn't take it seriously. When I did Celebrity Mastermind, I came second, and I got the I got the second highest ever celebrity score at the same time as coming second in this.
Right, really, right.
And I was so disappointed that I didn't win. I mean, just not like chucking my toys out the pram, just really, and I couldn't sleep. It was a bit the same with this Pointless thing.
Did you go into it feeling competitive, feeling like, right, I need to win this, or was it just afterwards?
With both of them, with Celebrity Mastermind, I just thought I don't want to be like getting 0, and I don't want to let myself down. And I got 18. I got one question wrong on my specialist subject, and I got 3 questions wrong of the general knowledge, and I knew all the 3 that I got wrong. But I just couldn't, I either fucked up or I couldn't understand one of the questions. So I went in thinking if I just embarrass myself, that'd be awful. But then actually getting so close to, also getting the best score ever. And I think someone's beaten it since then anyway. But it was, it's like the trauma of it. I just it's not like even, oh no, I lost, because I acquitted myself well in that. But it's just waking up going, oh, why did I say it's Newcastle on time rather than Sunderland, which I knew that answer. If I'd done that, if I got one more question right, I'd have won. So it's that kind of thing. And so I thought I wouldn't be like that with Pointless, but then I've just been playing. It took me seriously about a month to stop playing it over in my head, and I still occasionally do go, why didn't I say this?
What was your specialist subject in Mastermind?
I did Rasputin, which is I've written a few things about him, but I wrote a.
Is there a sitcom thing that you?
I wrote a sitcom, called Rara Rasputin, which I wrote. First of all, I wrote an Edinburgh show years ago called Rara Rasputin. Right. Then I did a sitcom version of that 2 years ago, which nothing happened with. And this year I'm writing a slightly more serious play called I Killed Rasputin. Okay. Which so it's kind of a subject I'm interested in, but I didn't know any of the facts from it, so I had to sit down. I really worked hard for 2 weeks. Yeah. I can't speak Russian, and I had to learn all of the names phonetically. It was massively complicated. Yeah.
It's quite a broad subject.
Yeah. Well, then what they do is they give you 2 books and say which 2 books do you want to use actually, and then they'll give the questions will be from those 2 books. Oh, okay. But one of my books was that was really thick, and so. Yeah, again, I should have got 100% really, but I was very pleased with what I did. But it was, I'm sort of competitive, but then it doesn't. I'm competitive in games, but in a sporting sense, it's not. It doesn't actually ruin my life. But both of those have nearly ruined. Made me quite grumpy for a bit. Okay. So.
You should probably move on then.
Yes. Move away from
I'll just be crying during the game. Yeah. Why didn't I say?
And obviously, you've started recently your Meaning of Life thing. How's that going?
It seems to be going quite well. Well, the first one's out. We've recorded 4 so far. It's basically a TV show on the internet, so it's like a film, stand-up and sketch show, which I'm paying. Has a budget, but quite a limited budget. So we're trying to make it look as much like a TV show as possible. The first one we learnt a lot on, and
I watched it last night.
I did.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
I mean, I thought I could write it and learn it in time, and I couldn't, and and we didn't have an autocue. Now we've got an autocue. Oh, okay. So I was reading bits off pieces of paper on the floor and just having to stop and start and reading out of books and stuff. I just wasn't on top enough on the material to do it as well as I would have liked. Yeah. But it's like a learning experience. So the second and third ones we've got better and better, and we just did the fourth one on last Sunday. The last 2 I've been able, because they've been about love and death. The last 2, which were my last 2 shows basically, But I have tried not to use too much stuff. But I found actually in the Love show, having put in a few familiar routines really helped me, because it just gave me the confidence, because I knew what I was doing to then go and do the newer bits as well. But I think it's interesting about we're sort of trying to get people to pay, which is, as you will understand, having your own podcast, a difficult thing to do. So we're giving out give out a decent version of it free, but then if you pay money, you get double versions basically of everything. You'll get the footage of an interview in each one, and we're cutting out good routines that then go into the paid one, and we're asking people just if they will just subscribe, just for give us money to make future projects. So just saying, will you pay £1 a month or whatever and then if you do that, we'll make a video as it occurs to me. If 100,000 of you do it, we'll make a sitcom, whatever. So it's kind of going quite slowly, but it is actually bringing in a bit. So I think the Meaning of Life will pay for itself. Yeah. It hasn't done yet, but I think it will. And hopefully people will get to understand that if you want, I can't do these things, I can't do more stuff like that. It's costing me like 20-25 grand to make the series, really? Which is cheap, like very cheap. Yeah. But obviously I'm not paying myself, so that's part of it. Yeah. That's part of the expense gone. Yeah. But I can't afford it. I can do that once, but I can't do that all the time.
So you do so much stuff free anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping people will get that, and I think they mainly do. Yeah. That eventually it works, because even if they don't, because if people are listening or watching stuff for free, and then you're in their town, they might go, I'll go and see him. Right, so my live audience is built, so I make most of my money from touring. Yeah. And it's not, again, it's a kind of, it's not compared to TV comedians, it's a modest sum I make. But I make quite a nice living out of touring and all the other bits and pieces I do on top, despite giving away a lot of my stuff for free. So it sort of does work, I think, even if they don't directly pay. But if people were prepared to directly pay, even if everyone who listens to the S02 podcast even gave me £1 a year, I could make some amazing stuff with that money. Yeah. And that's for, this year, for example, I think we're doing 30 podcasts, I think, this year at the S02 Theatre, because we did two ago, and we're doing another run of 11 in the autumn. So it might even be more than that. When you think about that, how much you're getting for that, you're getting at least 30 hours of entertainment. If you're prepared to pay £1 a month or £2 a month for that, then we can bring stuff in. And and ideally, because we're charging for the videos, it'd be nice just to not have to charge for the videos at all. Just put it out, and if everyone the people who can afford, because I'd like the people who can't afford to pay to see. And the people who just won't pay, they're horrible cunts. But, but I'd still like them to see it. So I'd rather the stuff was out there. I think with Meaning of Life, I could have just said it's just for the people who are going to pay £15. We would have probably covered our money, but then only the people who like me already would see it.
It's not the best starting point, is it? It's nice to say the word.
But it's like this new. I say new, it's not that new now. The radio station that started up this on the internet.
Fubar,
because that's your channel now, haven't you? Because that's pay only, isn't it?
I think there's various ways you could get like a month or a year for free. I don't know if any of those still run. Basically, the code is to put any presenter's first name and first initial their surname into the thing, and you'll get a free year. But that might be over now. But the people have to pay. So again, that's not. I'm just a DJ on that, so I'm doing a show and.
But it seems like a great idea. I mean, I do think it's a hard decision to make, isn't it? When there's so many free podcasts about, so suddenly go, right, we're going to do this where you've got to pay to subscribe to it. But
I think people will hopefully say it's like people are happy to pay for Netflix. I mean, maybe you get a lot of stuff for that, but it's. I think if people just get into the idea, if you're prepared to pay a small amount, then you can have and I think Fubar is it's pretty good value. It's like the cost of a cup of coffee for a month. And you get but. It's very early days for that as well. I don't know, I don't know whether it will work for them, but I think if you can just give people the idea that, even if you're just going to give 10p, 50p, whatever for something, you just should be paying. If you want good stuff to come out, there's free stuff out there, but then if you want, you become the commissioning editors of stuff. And that's, for me, is exciting that I can have the autonomy to do exactly what I want to do. And as long as people like it, they if they don't like it, they don't pay for it, they don't come and see it, then it dies, and that seems fair. That seems a really fair way of doing it, rather than someone deciding in an office whether you're going to be a star or not. So it's if enough people can prepare, and it's interesting, people kind of are eventually, and I think the nice thing about getting people to subscribe for a month is once you've done it, you're probably not going to stop it. So if you can get people into it, you're not going to go, oh, hold on, I'm £1 a month's going out to Richard Herring. I need that money. If you do need that money, then don't subscribe. If you need that £12 in your year, then listen to the stuff for free. But most people. So once you've got people in, you're unlikely to lose them. So it's there's a certain amount of money that hopefully will build and build and build. And I'll just use it when we can. All of that money I'll just use to make new stuff. So it's not about me going, hooray, I've made £500 this month. It's about me saying, great, we've made £500 that we can make a quarter of a show with or whatever. So it's it's exciting, and it's nice to have the autonomy, but with all my stuff it feels a bit like I'm pissing into the dark and just seeing what shitting into the dark and I'm working really, really hard, and I enjoy it though. So I mean, it's really, I'm having a really good time. I love doing the Leicester Square Theatre podcasts. They're just such good fun to do, and that seems to be building. That audience is building, and the shows aren't losing quality, I don't think. And it's just really interesting because it varies with whatever guest you get.
I love that unedited. People say what they want, feeling to it. They're just,
sometimes it just some of them go wrong, and some of them I'm not funny, or some of them I upset someone a bit, or sometimes I'm just tired and run out of steam. And I like that because that's not. It's real, It's not like, oh, let's edit out all the mistakes and let's just keep because the unfunny bits make the funny bits really funny, because you go, oh, so actually proportionally most of this is funny, so it's amazing. There's only this one bit there. The one I just did with Susan Calman, which will be out in a few weeks. I'd done one with Harry Shearer where I've been very polite and respectful and listened, and was very excited to meet Harry Shearer. And then I did Susan Calman, who's I've done a few Edinburgh ones with, and we've got quite a good repartee, and we can really push it with each other. And it was just so offensive in so many different ridiculous ways. So it's and some of it died with the audience, some of it worked with the audience. But as long as the guest doesn't want me to cut anything out, I won't cut anything out.
It's funny. I saw you on Sunday Brunch, I think it was. A while ago, and they were talking to you about what you do and stuff. And I was watching you because I think I could see in your head you were sort of editing what you could say and what you couldn't say at that point, thinking, right, Okay, there are, was that quite hard to do when you doing a lot of stuff?
Not really.
Say what you want.
I've done a lot of I've done a lot of live radio and TV, so I know you can. It's sort of tempting to they were talking about the Olympic rings and one of them not opening, looking like a little puckered arsehole. It's very hard. I just thought I won't say anything because
it's the elephant in the room.
It's not difficult to not swear. I mean, sometimes you do. Something comes out by mistake. And Fubar's amazing because you still feel like, we're on the radio. We should be. No, we can say cunt. No, we can say cunt. So it's and then having the option to say it, you don't use it that much in the end because it's not. Because it's part of the thrill of swearing is that you're not allowed to do it. So I think I've always I've known the line to tread. Where how far you can go and how rude you can be. Even like I was on Just a Minute the other day and I was talking about making my wife special porridge in bed. That's okay because that's just a dirty euphemism. But I couldn't say I spunk up in my wife's face on bed on Just a Minute. Oh, good.
Wouldn't be asked back.
Probably wouldn't be asked back. So I think where you can and can't go, and I've done a certain amount of live TV and radio, so I kind of I'm tuned into that. But it's very easy to forget that it's Sunday brunch is so relaxed.
But this is it. That's what I thought.
And they're also just they're just chatting, going, we're on TV, guys.
I think that was what I thought from watching it, having seen you do a lot of the podcasts and stuff and watching a lot of the videos, and then seeing you on that, I just thought it's so funny to watch. And they probably feel it all the time. They must think all the time, what can I not say and what can I say?
Well, and they're quite, I wrote a Metro article about them because I think they are kind of subtly subversive in a way that actually, if you're going to be subversive, that's the show to be subversive on. If you do a late night edgy comedy show, everyone's expecting you to be rude and make terrible jokes. But if you're doing that, everyone's thinking, this has to be lovely and cuddly, and then actually you can be they were being deliberately boring at one stage, I'm absolutely sure, because they were laughing about it afterwards.
Oh, really?
So they were deliberately kind of just seeing how long they could stretch one quite inane idea, which is, if Stuart Lee does that in the middle of the night, that's an art form. If they do it, it's, how boring. But they know what they're doing, so it's, there's something interesting in that. So it's fun to do those things every now and again. I would hate to kind of get into being on that treadmill of doing that stuff all the time, but it was actually a very enjoyable morning, and they were very good, and it was got to eat some nice food.
You made food?
Salmon fish cakes or something. So they were quite nice. And I drank. In fact, off air, I drank a camel milk latte, which was horrible.
I was going to ask you, how was interviewing Harry Shearer? Because I remember reading your article about when you'd seen him on the tube.
So, well, that's sort of basically it. I saw him on the tube, because I was amazed to see Harry Shearer on the tube. A, why was he travelling? It was a really hot day. Why is he travelling on the tube? He's a multi-millionaire. And B, why has nobody recognised that's Harry Shearer? I just thought it was interesting that someone could be that famous. Well, probably a lot of people don't know who we're talking about. He's in Spinal Tap and he's in Mr. Burns and various other characters in The Simpsons. So his voice is what is recognised by probably everyone in the English-speaking world, where that is in its original English. Probably everyone, there probably isn't a single human being. There must be some, but nearly everyone has seen The Simpsons.
Yeah, even if they don't recognise face. As soon as we did a gig where he was on, and we came in while he was rehearsing. And we walked down the stairs, and he was singing.
Yeah, he was playing the piano with his wife, Judy. They were both singing a song. And we were both like, we're just going to stay here for a moment.
just take this, soak this in, because it was amazing. It was like almost just for us, because there was no one else in the room apart from him. We walked in, and it was just
so excited.
And it was amazing.
Well, I was on the tube. I was too nervous to talk to him, so I see him there, and he was standing on his own, and it was and I thought I could go up and say hello, and I'm a comedian, and I'm a big fan of yours. And I thought I'd leave him alone, but I was too nervous about meeting him. So it was massive. I think of everyone I've interviewed, that was the biggest deal for me, because he's basically in my favourite ever film. And The Simpsons is certainly in my top 5 ever comedy TV shows. But probably in 100 years' time, that's probably still going to be on TV, or at least in some level, or on the internet or whatever. It will be in 100 years' time. But it's like an epoch-defining television show. So it's it's a massive deal. But he was luckily he was very nice and really giving, and I think he appreciated that. Being in the kind of being recognised for who he was. I guess a lot of the time he doesn't get that recognition, and I think he's quite a dogged and probably quite a difficult man to work with, because he's very precise and wants everything to be correct, which is right.
Guest is probably the same, because they're very sort of precise.
They were talking about Spinal Tap, and they're saying backstage they needed a backstage at a theatre, and they said we want all the graffiti, and then the designer put graffiti like on a bridge, like big spray painted stuff and say, no, the graffiti in a backstage at a theatre isn't like that. Go to this theatre, and take a photo of it and come back and make that. So that's how precise they were. So the guy had to go, I've made this. Can't we just do this? No, that has to be. Even that's in the background of one shot. That has to be right. And he was telling the reason he was wearing a Shrewsbury Town top. In some of the things was because he thought Elton John had just bought an English football team, and he thought, Derek Smalls would want to do the same, but wouldn't be able to get a First Division, Premier Division. So would buy it, and he saw a Shrewsbury top. He thought that's ideal. So that's not even that's just a backstory.
The level of detail they go into,
and that's what So it is. And he was talking about. And there was a horrible quote from someone, the producer of Saturday Night Live, not Lorne Michaels, but someone else. Saying that he was an arsehole basically, but the quote itself made the bloke sound bad because you think you're just saying that because you don't like the fact that he's works, he's fastidious, so I sort of told him, I asked him what he thought about that, and he was, you could see that he would piss people off, but only in the pursuit of sort of perfection, and not everything he's done is amazing, and not everything has worked. But he's got an incredible career. He's 70 years old, which I was blown away.
It really doesn't.
It just absolutely doesn't. But also, you still think he's sort of in his 50s somehow. Even though I'm nearly in my 50s now, you still think he must have. But also just his output, his appearance. But he was in an Abbott and Costello film, which might not mean anything to you.
No, it does.
Probably too young, really. But he was in like one of the later as a boy. He was in one of the Abbott and Costello. But that just feels like that cannot be true. He was in Leave It. He was in the pilot of Leave It to Beaver, which again is this amazing, massive American institution, but kind of didn't do, chose not to do the series. He was worked with Jackie Mason and Mel Blanc, and so. It's this amazing long career. He was in Star. He was voiced some of the voices in Star Wars because he was a voiceover artist. They called him in just to voice some of the paratroopers. So it's sort of like this 63-year career he's had already.
It's almost a shame that it's The Simpsons that is the big. I mean, it's not a shame. The Simpsons is huge, but
it's a great program. But
but it is that thing of
But then for me, you look at that and go, I would love to be doing that stuff and still be able to go on the tube. I would love, so I'd love to be be paid that much, B in stuff that's good, and C, nobody knows who you are. It's sort of like an amazing.
There was an element, I think, I don't know if it was like this on your podcast, but when the gig that we did, and I think everyone wanted him to just do something from The Simpsons. And he sort of reluctantly did it. But there was an element of like, do something,
My favourite.
I sort of thought.
As I said, my favourite moment in the whole evening, because I went to see Spinal Tap at Wembley Arena when they were on. Obviously, not knowing I was going to play a gig with him. And at one point, moving his bass out of the way, this was the bass I saw. It's just amazing.
Well, he saw I was going to introduce myself and said, "Can I? You can't introduce yourself. I'll introduce you."
Oh, really?
And I said, "Oh, you could do it as one of the Simpsons." He went, "No."
Oh, really?
I made him do one voice, but I didn't make him do. I made him do Scratchy, so I kind of figured that no one would ask him to do. Someone had specifically asked. Someone who'd given me some really good details about some sort of good questions for him. Had said, "Can you make him do Scratchy?" And he had a go at it. So I think that's quite a hard one to do without the microphone. But he was great, luckily. And he said, "No, he'd love to." I said, "Oh, there's so much I wanted to ask you." He said, "Oh, well, I'm happy to come back another time."
That's great.
So he was really good, really, and it's nice to meet someone. And I can understand why some people would find him difficult to work with, but for me, that is what makes him fantastic.
Yeah.
And on that note, we probably should
we should do our own work.
Yes. So that was Richard Herring.
Certainly was.
There it was.
What I quite liked about that was he was obviously talking about how starstruck he was by seeing Harry Shearer at that time. Yeah. And blatantly, both of us are still starstruck by the fact we're talking to Richard Herring. So it's quite nice that he's talking about... It's nice to know that we're all the same, basically. We all have that same sort of...
everyone is starstruck by someone. I'll tell you what I found interesting is when we're interviewing someone who's, the king of podcasts, and you think, we're humbly doing our tiny podcast, and...
The man who does one every day, basically.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that this time. I thought of it last time, but thanks for putting that back in my head, Glyn. Yeah. That makes me feel so much better about myself.
So I can say it now because it's happened, but all the way through his interview, I'm thinking, this is a guy who's very good at this.
He's interviewed just about everyone. Yes. And I don't even know who we are, let alone him.
Exactly.
Knowing who we are. So it's just confusing. Before we introduce our final interview this evening, a little secret for you tonight, Glyn, that you don't even know happened.
Oh, okay.
At the end of the first half, when I said that I really needed to go to the loo.
Yes.
Okay.
You didn't say it to the audience. You said it to me.
Yeah, I'm more professional.
You didn't walk on stage and say, I really need to go to the loo.
What do I do here?
Yeah.
Can somebody tell me what happens? because normally somebody does it for me. I sort of outsource my toilet visits. But basically, because obviously what happened was everyone needed to go to the loo in the middle, and I thought I really need to go because I actually thought I might piss myself on stage before. I went to the Sun Hotel next door, which is the venue next door to here. Yeah, I just thought.
Wait a minute, hang on. What? So hang on. So when when the interval happened, you went to the Sun Hotel.
I did. The minute it ended, I purposefully walked out. Hell. I'd already made my decision. Do not pass go. I walked straight out. Walked straight in.
Do you know what? There was a point when I was walking around and I was gathering together Matt Green to do the interview
because he does come in 4 parts.
Yes, I had to gather him together. Yeah. But I was sort of saying to him, right, we'll go and do the interview in a second. And the interview we're about to hear, by the way. And I was looking, and there were some guys queuing for the toilet, and I thought, well, David must be upstairs because I was downstairs.
Whole different building,
people, and you weren't even in this building.
I was in different building. And I know if you've not been to the Market Theatre or the Sun Hotel,
this will make no sense.
Yeah, but just look it up, Google Maps. I think they are just about the same postcode. Yeah. But they are different places. And, I thought, do I tell them as I go in that I'm going to use their loo?
It's another business. You basically went to another business.
Use their facilities.
Did you just walk into the
Sun
Hotel?
Purposely walked in, went straight for the loo. It was quite busy, so no one noticed. And because I do go in there quite often for breakfast, so I thought, sod it, I could just be using one of my toilet visits that I didn't use when I was there.
Exactly.
So I went there, I washed my hands, but I used very little electricity, and I went, and I just felt better for it, rather than waiting. So, little secret.
So that's a good.
Yeah, I just went into another building, just thought, sod it. And I was not the only one. There was a woman that I saw who blatantly did the same thing. Yeah. So there we go.
Brilliant.
We've got a little scam going.
So something we need to learn is we need more toilets in this premises.
Yes, definitely.
Not enough toilets.
Yeah.
Or our own special toilet for the acts as well.
Yeah.
We need
not in a room, not in a private room.
No.
Just in to one side of a very big
room.
Just
there, yeah.
So just like if you're in prison.
Yeah.
I think we should do
that. That we can all share.
Yeah, all at once. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's enough about toilets. We've talked far too much about ablutive visits. That's a good word. It means more washing than toilets, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll have to look that word up because I've no idea what that word meant until you told me.
I don't think even I know what it means. But anyway, it's now about 2:30, so we really should get on with this.
Yes.
The final interview of our podcast this evening is with Matt Green, who played our first ever mostly comedy at the Market Theatre, which was about a year and a half ago. Obviously, we've been running for about 5 or 6 years. He also did, I think, one in Edinburgh when we were around there.
It wasn't a successful one, was it? It wasn't a particular
No, it was a night when the PA didn't work and all this kind of thing. It was quite nice because we actually managed to address that with him tonight, and he remembered it and just sort of tried to make it clear that we are not dicks. It was just the event was a bit shit. So I've just used some swearing and some sort of slang term for a penis there.
Yeah.
So this is the interview with Matt Green. Here we go. Listen right now. If you haven't been listening before, listen from now.
Here we are with Matt Green.
Hello.
Hello there. I was going to ask you, because did you start as an actor before you went into stand-up?
Sort of. I mean, I started at university doing stuff, but I didn't train. So, I mean, I did acting, I did plays and stuff at school, I did comedy stuff at school a bit, and then at university that's when I kind of got into it. So not really. So I did act a bit before I did stand-up, but I was always doing comedy stuff. I was always being like a writer or sketch person or that kind of thing. So I don't think of myself as an actor turned stand-up. I think of myself as a sort of comedy performer who then decided to do stand-up after a couple of years.
Yeah. Okay. When you actually started doing the stand-up itself, did it feel like a big leap, or was it?
Yeah, I think it always does. I mean, I think it. I don't think. I mean, I started doing it. 10 years ago-ish, and that was just when the whole sort of comedy course thing was beginning to happen. But it was still quite a weird niche thing. So I didn't really consider that. Whereas I think now lots of people do that, and it's just kind of completely normal. So I mean, I had a couple of friends who sort of dabbled in it a bit, and I sort of knew about comedy, and I knew the places to go and where was good to start a bit. So I kind of I just rang people and asked for a gig, and that's just how it worked, and it was quite a big thing, and it took me a while before I decided I definitely wanted to keep doing it. But it was that slightly kind of bloody-mindedness about me. It just went, well, I'm just going to keep doing this until I kind of get better at it or decide I'm terrible. And neither of those things. Yeah. Like I got slightly better, and I never thought I'm terrible at this. So I had bad gigs obviously, but I never sort of thought, oh, I really can't do this. And then I just kept plodding along. And then after a year or so, I then kind of begin to think, oh, actually, I can sort of do this now, and I can get a few gigs, and you begin to kind of go back to places, and people kind of book you without having to be pestered. And that's, I think, when it begins to become fun.
Did you do other jobs? Obviously, away from doing stand-up initially, were you doing other?
I was temping a lot, and I did a lot of temping, and I always at university I had a kind of slightly stupid, masochistic. No, it's not quite the right word, but a kind of stupid attitude in the sense of whenever career fairs came around or people wanted to talk about this kind of stuff, I was very anti any of that because I think on the one hand I really love doing this, but on the other hand I am slightly. I can feel myself. When I was at school, I was quite academic and quite into doing things and projects and things, and I could imagine myself ending up doing a proper job if I was not careful, as it were. Like if I'd kind of, if I could have accidentally become a management consultant or something, like a few of my friends did who were into comedy and stuff, but they kind of went, well, I need to get a proper job for a bit, and then and I could easily imagine myself after 5 years going, oh, I thought I was going to try and do comedy, but that hasn't really happened. So I had a fairly clear. I fairly clearly realised I had to kind of go, I'm going to try and do this full time right from the beginning. Right. Obviously with temping and stuff as well to pay the rent, but temping, the whole point about temping is it's temporary, you know.
Yes.
And I had a couple of temp jobs that I did for I did one like for a year and a bit, and after a while they began to give me more responsibility, and I began to kind of be promoted within the company a bit. And at that point I kind of went, right, I've got to get out of this, you know, because I'm now getting a bit too involved in it, and I'm beginning to think about my job at home, which the whole point of temping is that you just leave and you forget about it, you know. But I think it's, you know, I was lucky because I was doing that sort of at the turn of the millennium, sort of 1990, 2000 through to about 2003-04, when it was quite easy to get those kind of jobs. You know, temp jobs in the city particularly were really easy. There's loads of, there's the boom, you know, the kind of all that stuff. So I think now it's a lot harder. I think, you know, from what I understand, it's much harder to kind of get those kind of jobs, and you do have to kind of commit in a way that I wouldn't be happy doing, you know.
Yeah. And are you at the point now where you are basically doing it full time?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no, I'd say pretty much, yes. I mean, I've been full time for, I don't know, about 5 years now, maybe a bit longer. But some of that is acting, you know, some of that I do acting and I do some writing and stuff. But it's mostly, you know, it's probably, in terms of my time, it's way more standard, you know, it's nine times, you know, 90% of the time is stand-up. You know? I do some acting and some writing, and sometimes that pays quite well, so that kind of gives you a bit of a boost. But yeah, it's been good, and I'm sort of happy with that.
Do you, with your stuff, because obviously the difference with us is we're a double act, so we have like each other to write and work together. Do you ever have an outside eye for what you do, or people that you trust?
Sometimes, I've never, I have done that with various people over the years. I've never found a kind of perfect partner. I did work with a couple of people when I was just sort of leaving uni and at uni and stuff. But then one of them went off and became got a proper job, and the other one kind of went off and did something else. And so, and I have got a couple of people that I've written things with. And with stand-up, I've tried to get people involved and tried to kind of get directors and stuff. And I've done that over one of my shows. I got a director in. Last year I kind of got someone else to look at it, a sort of director who only came in for a couple of sessions and stuff. But it's very difficult. I think stand-up's, it's such a weird thing. It's particularly what I do. You know, what I do is quite sort of personal. It's quite just storytelling. It's observational. It's my sense of humour. And I think it's really hard to get the right person, and you're trying to get the right kind of, the right atmosphere, the right interaction is quite tricky, because you don't want to feel like they're kind of telling you what to do, but equally you don't want to feel like they're just sort of laughing at everything. And it's that kind of alchemy that's hard to get right.
How do you get someone else's opinion on something that is your experience?
And the number of times, you know, and I've definitely swapped ideas with comedians and you know, in the car on the way back from gigs and stuff, and that's often when you come up with something good. And you know, if I spot something, it's little things like callbacks and tags and things where you think, oh, they just haven't noticed that. And I know that I'm the same. You know, someone will say, why don't you just link that to that? And I think, of course, that makes perfect sense, but you haven't thought about it, because those were two separate thoughts and you've never linked them in your head. But obviously someone watching it can do that. But then even then, you know, you get people at the new material nights. I've had this so often where someone will go, oh, I really, you know, I like that bit, but you should do this and this and this to it. And you think, oh yeah, that'll kind of work. And then you try it, and none of those things work, because it's not your voice or something. Or it's not quite. Not, and then you do something that you think works, and it works. And it's that sort of. So I really like working with other people. I like collaborating. I like chucking ideas around and being in a sort of writer's room kind of situation. But those are quite rare. Those sort of situations are quite rare. So I do, I've enjoyed being. I've done a few, plays and sketch shows and stuff over the years, and I've always enjoyed being involved in those. But those are sadly, I do that less than I'd like to.
Right. Yeah.
But then that's just because I think, although I do try to have a big, portfolio of different things that I do, at the end of the day, you have to concentrate on what's sort of making a living. And stand-up is what does that for me at the moment. So it's quite hard for me to go, I'm just going to take 6 weeks off and write a sketch show with someone. That's just not going to work. So I think I've missed out on a couple of things because of that sort of situation where you kind of not been able to focus on a thing. But no, I'm always open to chat about stuff. I'm not sort of, I'm not precious about it.
I always thought as well, if you're like running an Edinburgh show and you're getting in a director and stuff, just to have the two of you in one room working through an idea is quite sort of strange, quite sort of forced. Because we had a director for some of our stuff.
We did.
It's not so bad because there's the two of us, so we sort of have a bit of an outside eye. But just that sort of pressured thing of essentially talking to one person for an hour when you're doing your show.
Yeah. And it's tricky. I mean, and it's whether they. I would spend quite a long time. This year, I worked with someone who was great. Someone who worked with someone else I'm a big fan of and who's great. But we ended up just sort of talking around stuff, but not kind of getting to the meat of it. As far as I was concerned, or actually, maybe he had an idea for the show which I didn't really agree with in a way, and I didn't know I didn't agree with it until we talked about it, and then he would sort of be like, "Why didn't we try that?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I guess I could," and then I'd go away and think about it and think, actually, no, that isn't quite what I want to talk about. And maybe that could well have been a sort of weakness on my part. And maybe I should have been more led by what he said. But when you're, standing on stage on your own, it's very hard to kind of go, I'm going to do what someone else has told me to do more than once. Like you can do it once, but if it doesn't work, then it's quite hard to keep pressing it. Because otherwise, because your instincts just take over. And that's what stand-up... I mean, I found that over the years with stand-up that... I was listening to Steve Goldsmith's Comedians podcast, which is great. I'm sure you listen to it. I can't remember who it was now, talking about, your voice, and you can't fake your voice. And I think there's some truth to that. You've got to do what ends up being funny to the audience, from you. And there are loads of comics who I love, but if I try and do anything a bit like what they do, it just doesn't work. And even my own, I'll think, I'll write this thing, and I'll write a thing, and I think, this works. And I just think, and in the end I think it's just not in my voice. It just doesn't fit me. And that can be frustrating because you think, well, I want to, over the years I have written topical stuff and sort of satirical things, and I've got opinions and stuff. But when I try and talk about those on stage, I've found I've got to be very delicate with it. It just doesn't. I can't kind of just go on and rant about stuff. It just doesn't fit me as a performer. I can kind of come at it obliquely, and I can kind of come at it from an angle, but I can't just do a political show without really couching it in other things. Whereas some people can, and that's. And I think you're absolutely, I think it's absolutely right that you, your voice finds you. You don't find your voice in a way, And I still don't think necessarily I've found it 100%, but I think I feel like I'm always getting closer to what I think.
I think that I found watching other stand-ups is that's the hardest part, is finding that thing that is you, and when you can really see when someone has got that or is sort of getting that, because it's just completely it's unique. Then it is unique.
But also it's gig to gig as well. There are gigs where I think I totally did that the way I wanted to. That was exactly me, and I was completely right. I did that right. And then the following gig, I'll completely mess it up, and I'll still do fine, but I'll walk away thinking, I just wasn't me then. I was kind of trying too hard, or I was pushing it too much, or I was not pushing enough, or whatever it is, And I think I have over the years seen people who sort of clicked and then found their voice, and it's very powerful. But even then, you sometimes see them, it doesn't work.
True, because that's true. I think that's probably down to their material or they're trying something new out. Or,
So you just never know. It's such a fragile, delicate thing, stand-up. You just can't. You can never kind of go tick. I've done that. It's always every gig you've got to keep playing. Re-finding it.
It's the thing that Phil Kay says in his book about I've been at every one of Phil Kay's gigs. He's saying so. I'm the one that's experienced the highs and the lows. And that's sort of like a better way to look at it. I think. And it's much harder to be the outside eye if you don't have to do it yourself. That's the thing, isn't it? We probably should.
Stop, yes, but
thanks for talking to us.
No worries. Thank you.
Cheers.
So that was Matt Green. Thanks to him.
Yeah, thanks for coming down to Mostly Comedy again. It was good. We didn't tell him in person. We thought we'd thank him on the recording.
I don't think we said goodbye. I think we just left him to just walk out.
We just sort of stared at him as he left.
It was lovely to have him. It was nice actually, because we had him. I said, like David said, at the first Mostly Comedy we did here. It was lovely to have him back, and he went down really well, I thought. Yeah,
and he's just a really good stand-up. You can tell. I mean, like he talked about in the interview about the fact that he's professional. It's what he does solely. But you can really see it when you watch him on stage. How just his sort of stagecraft is really good. So he's worth watching, if for nothing else in the stagecraft, and also the very funny material.
Yes.
Do make sure you listen to other episodes from our podcast. There's 9 before this one, featuring such people as Phil Jupitus and Richard Herring previously, Norman Lovett,
Sean
Hughes, Phil
Jay
Kay.
Foreman.
We could just say names together.
Yeah.
Hang on, you got one in your head?
Hang on, wait.
I'm cheating.
Oh, you've got it written down.
Yeah, well, I didn't look though. I just remembered. But are you ready? Just give it a go. You got one?
I can't think of one we haven't already said.
I'll give you a clue. Sketch group. You got one?
Go on.
So 3, 2, 1. Joey Page.
Oh,
I know, but I did that purposely. So if I pan them left and right, you can just basically it just means they can get that much more information and quicker.
I like it.
Yeah,
just say everything together and hope that people just listen left and right.
Yeah,
they can cut one out, listen to half of it.
Choose who you want to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But and other people like that.
Yes.
Also, do make sure you come down to Hitchin Mostly Comedy if you can at some point. Next month we have Kevin Eldon, who's star of just about every sitcom.
Very exciting. Hopefully we'll get a podcast interview with him.
Yep, which will be
exciting.
exciting.
Did I say podcast in a weird way then? I think I did. Podcast interview with him.
I understood it. It was all right. We also have other people on. We've got Hattie Hayridge the month after that, who's Holly in Red Dwarf. We're just completing the Red Dwarf set, really. We've had Norman Lovett a couple of times, and then we've got her.
We've had 2. It's the second Holly we've had.
I know. Where do we go after that? There's no more Hollies. Do we just give up?
We need to start looking at the rest of the cast of.
We probably do, don't we?
If they do stand up and if they do that sort
Craig
of
Charles could come do some DJing.
True.
Maybe. Danny John Jules could just recreate scenes from Maid Marian.
And Robert Llewellyn would do perhaps tell you about how to use a video camera.
Yes.
There used to be a really good program he used to do about how you video things.
Or how to make like machines out of scrap metal.
Yeah,
he
true.
does that. Or we could also get the other Crichton that did like about 1 or 2 episodes, maybe just one episode.
Yeah.
But no one will know who that is, so we probably won't sell tickets. Sorry if you are listening. I'm sure you've done lots of very good work. We also run our obviously Mostly Comedy in London, so check out our website for information on that. You can tell I'm getting tired now because
it is getting
it's
late.
Now it's only 25 to 3.
Only, yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's quite early.
It's quite good. We should stop there. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Keep listening to us on iTunes for free and keep spreading the Mostly Comedy word, and we'll hopefully catch you soon.
Bye.
Bye now. Sleep well, if it's bedtime.